Hi, welcome back to our Active Knowledge series, Transition, Orienteering the Land Succession. This is number 3 of the 4 introductory chapters. Today we're going to look at the lands of succession. There are 6 lands, and in the journey of succession, in the journey of transition, you're going to go through each one of these lands. Each one of these lands has specific tasks you need to complete, things you need to tick off and resolve, make decisions on before you can progress. It's not linear. It's not I finish with land, I'll never come back. No, you may well need to loop back, but there is a journey, there is a process, there is a sequence which makes best sense, if I can express it that way. So today we're going to look at the map, that topographical map of succession and the journey you need to go through. We're going to look at the individual lands and just spend a moment maybe talking about what the land is about. I think each one's pretty obvious by its title. But we're going to look at what you need to complete before you can exit that land. Yeah, there's a checklist. You'll see that at the very end of this video, but there is a checklist of the things I need to complete in each land so I can progress to the next land. It is an introductory chapter. It is about giving an overview to you. As the series continues, we will then examine each one of the lands in detail and dig into them. But this is just giving you a sense of the journey you're going on the overall map. So let's just have a look at the map. So today we're going to look at these 6 lands: goals, family, legacy, wealth, business, decisions. We've got to look and see what in actual fact they're about. Importantly, we're going to have a look and see what do we actually need to do in each one. What are we meant to achieve? And you'll see each one has got sitting in a little couple of tents, a base camp. That's where you need to complete your tasks. You'll see all of them have got dangers in them. We're going to come to that in the next video. Where we talk about what those dangers are you're going to avoid. And each one of them you'll see is actually, for those who've got good eyesight, you'll see there's a tree which is coloured. They actually represent the principles which you need to use as signposts, which we did in the previous session. So this is our map. This is the journey we're going to undertake. This is a journey we need to go through to reach the summit and to complete our transition, our succession process. If you come down to the far left-hand side, you'll see it's got a start here. And the start here is outside the lands. This is this bit about preparation. And you'll see coming up on the screen this checklist which you saw before, which is just about, so this is the information I need to gather. The second part you've got to do is to appoint, to locate, find, appoint your independent succession advisor. So while you're beginning to work on that, the things which are shown on this list, you can be gathering and pulling together. So they're ready and you're off for a good start once you actually have your independent succession advisor on board. So that's that start here. That's that preparatory work. That's getting yourself ready and understanding what the journey is going to be before you launch into the journey. So let's begin. Let's just start our journey. The first land we step into, we actually take a little step to the side. We actually come into the land of goals. That is the first land we come into. Without wanting to sort of say something which is pretty obvious, if you don't have a clearly articulated set of goals before you commence your journey, then I'm not sure you're ever going to reach them, but you're going to wander the lands wondering why you're here and what you're seeking to achieve. So the first thing you do, the first thing your succession advisor begins to do is to help you begin to craft those goals. And again, just tossing up on the screen, here's a sample of the goals which you've seen before. This is what you're trying to articulate. You're trying to say, what are we seeking to achieve from this process, this journey we're going on? What are the core outcomes? So before you exit the land, you've got to have a clear written set of goals agreed to by the family and other stakeholders as is appropriate, and against which you'll be able to assess and measure your journey, your success, your plans, the things you're doing. And typically the goals are done by a series of questions, a series of discussions with all those who are involved in the succession process, and allowing those to come together and just consolidate those. It starts with the incumbents, the wealth owners at the present time, then draws in who could be involved in the transition process and builds from there. The first thing you do is you step into that land of goals. And again, if we just go back and look at that, we get those right. We get those defined. We have a sense of what we're seeking to achieve when we reach the summit. We know there are probably going to be Not necessarily change, but they're going to become clearer and more articulate as we go through, and they're going to be filled out. Range of goals. Next land we step into, as you can guess, is the land of family. Land of family, we've probably already put our foot in and started to do some work as we've touched on the goals, because often I will begin to create the goals as we begin to develop a family charter, and the family charter is a great way to draw everyone's views together, begin to open communications, and to begin to build unity and a sense of contribution and a sense of where growth may lie for individuals. The land of family may well be one of the most challenging and time-consuming lands you will need to transverse. Why? It's family. Family is often not easy, but the preservation and compounding of wealth across generations requires that you actively engage family in your succession process. Transparency, clarity, consensus, building excellent communications are just vital aspects of bringing the family together. And your independent succession advisor will work this very well for you, because they will be the one who goes around engaging all the family members and drawing all those views together as individuals and then consolidating them so everyone can see them. They'll be working with you to do this and be giving you transparency on this so you can see what are the challenges we're going to have, where does everyone want to fit, what is this going to look like, and this becomes quite important. So before you exit this land of family, what do you need to have done to have ticked off? You've got to start to build this foundation for family harmony. You've got to develop a communication strategy for renewing that harmony. How do we sustain it? How do we build it? You've got to establish a pattern of regular meetings with family members. They know what's happening. You've got to develop your family charter. You've got to identify future leaders. You've got to identify roles for the various family members who wish to continue to participate in the business. And you've got to begin to create a unified team for the succession journey. A lot to do in the land of family. It is the foundation which is seeking to build. I've got to head around my goals. I'm now into family. I'm seeing where everyone wants to fit, and I'm beginning to start how we're all going to work. That's the second land you step into. Going back into the map, you can see the third land then as you slide across is going to be legacy. Legacy is important. Your legacy is not what you leave behind, but what you are creating for the future. Yes, it's your footprint, but it's much more than that. It's the foundation for the future growth and the prosperity of the business and your families. Importantly, it's not so much about what you did during your lifetime, but what endures and continues to grow once you are no longer actively involved. In fact, I believe the greatest legacy is probably when your business continues to grow without you and achieves greater success than you had, because that's been seeded by you and what you did in this transition process. It's the foundation you laid which has allowed it to achieve this success. So, what are the things I need to tick off in the land of legacy? Well, you need to have built an enduring legacy through the business which will grow without you. So how can the business continue without me and become stronger? If there's something where you wish to seed, give a donation to, something outside the business, then it's important that comes to the table, and that is often there as part of what you see as your legacy. I would like to invest something here. It's about building the foundations of the new leadership team. That new leadership team, the ability to run the business is part of your legacy. It's about developing a governance structure that will underpin and support the future of your business. That governance structure, that family council, how it's going to function. It's about thinking about who's the next CEO, but also who's that leadership team, that wider leadership team, and do I need to bring to task an advisory board which will support that new team, and how should they function? It's about also ensuring that your legacy has set the foundations, that there won't be any conflicts, that you're not setting up for conflict, you're in actual fact setting up for harmony. It's the land of legacy. It's a foundation upon which all is going to be grown. It's very important. We then, going back to up again, slide across. We run across family and goals and we jump into wealth. Wealth is often one which causes a lot of headaches for people and can cause conflict, but it just seems to be one which people struggle with. It certainly can be one where greed comes up, but often it's about, but what is fairness? Who should we give to who? What does each person want? What does all this look like? How does this all fit together? What actually is equity? And remember the principle, right? Equality is not equal. It actually requires a good dose of communication, but it requires clarity. So the first thing you begin to do in the land of wealth, the first things you're going to have completed, one of the things you must complete for exiting, is you draw your wealth map. And your wealth map, you'll see again an image coming up of that. That's a very simple wealth map. It is, what do we own? What does it comprise of? Who owns it? Where is it? How are they interconnected through guarantees, through encumbrances, through intercompany loans, through trust structures which have got strange beneficiary clauses in it? How does it all come together? Through shares which were never transferred from one generation to another generation, all these sorts of things. So you start with this factual representation of wealth, which becomes quite a task because you've got to gather. If you remember that starting preparation, getting all these documentation together, often that's a challenge. So the second thing you do in the land of wealth, as you're drawing that wealth map, is you locate, you gather all the supporting documentation for ownership and all the entities, you seek legal advice where it is needed, and it's all sitting there under that wealth map. It needs to be there. You shouldn't be saying, I can't find this, we can't find that, I think it's this. You've got to have these questions answered. And the third part you need to do on this land of wealth is you begin to write up your initial thoughts. What will be the allocation of wealth across the next generation? And this becomes one of establish the principles for wealth allocation first, test them, see whether they're fair, communicate them, seek feedback, but what do we think it will be? But always principles first, sums second. Are there specific assets, specific entities? We want to transition to certain family members. I think this should sit over here, that should sit over here. This group, they don't want anything to do with the business, so we need to transfer these passive assets over to them. You need to think about and you need to consider your financial needs and your spouse, your partner's financial needs, and make sure they are taken care of as well. You need to make sure you communicate your approach of this allocation of wealth to family members early and openly. Seek their advice, their support, their affirmation that it's fair. You don't want to keep it locked in a closet, no one knows. That does not help harmony at all. Land of wealth, quite a lot of work to be done. You'll be surprised. And just said, it's one which seems to cause much heartache and headache for many people. And we can work our way through that so it doesn't. It becomes quite transparent, quite easy. The next land, as you can guess, is the land of business. So we slide from wealth across into business. Our mindset's now changing. As we go into the land of business, we're putting on our business hat. Land of business is often where real wealth lies. It is the engine of generating not only the historic wealth, but the future wealth. It is an area where a lot of work is required, but the work is coming in a different way. It is about understanding where the value of the business truly lies, what are the capital value drivers. It's understanding where the business can go to in the future and where it should go to. It's resolving that often difference between the incumbent generation and new generation as to where the business should go to. It's thinking about who the future leaders need to be to allow the business to grow. It's about releasing what was successful in the past, because what worked in the past may not work in the future, and identifying what works in the future. So as you're coming out of this land of business, what do you need to have settled? What do you need to have ticked off? Well, you certainly should have formed a view as to what's going to be transitioned, what's going to be retained, what's going to be sold, what's simply going to be closed down. That needs to be settled. Your strategic business plan for whatever you're taking forward needs to be very clear. You need to be looking very clearly at your leadership team and assessing their suitability to be able to manage and deliver on this business and filling any gaps or shortcomings. You need to know what your capital value drivers are. What has generated the success of the business to date? What will generate the success of the business in the future? Where do we need to invest? These are pretty basic things, but these are things you need to get done in the land of business. You need that clarity. So we've gone through goals, family, legacy, we've tricked across into wealth, we've slid over into business. We're now stepping up to the land of decision. The land of decision starts with pulling everything together, because what we have done is we've gone through a process of establishing facts. Facts and preferences and views and opinions. We've gathered all that together. We sit that right beside the goals which we set. And we say, these are the goals which we had set. These are the facts which have now been gathered. What are the possible alternatives which we've got? What are the options? Which one's going to best give us the goals which we've sought? Bang, let's tick that. What are the implications of that? Are we all clear? What does it mean? So land of decision is about pulling everything together. It's about making decisions. It's about finalising your plans and making it all happen. It is about making sure you've made the right decisions, that you have achieved your goals. It's about making sure everyone is settled with it. It's about making sure you understand what needs to be done, and it's making sure you actually do it. Not to be underemphasised. So before you exit this land, you've consolidated all the outcomes of the 5 lands. You've confirmed your succession goals. You've developed a goal achievement plan to make it all happen. You have decided which options you're going to go for, the ones which best meet your succession goals, and you have commenced delivery. So you're actually making it happen. So the land of decisions is we have commenced the succession process. It is clearly articulated and documented. We're now going through it. Six lands. We establish our goals. We bring the family on board. We think clearly about what the legacy is to create that future. We understand where wealth is and how it should be transitioned. We look clearly at our businesses to see where their future lies. We then draw that together. We make our final decisions and we begin to make it happen. Coming up the screen is that process. You can see the 6 lands and you can see what you need to complete before you, in actual fact, step out of that land. It is important for your succession process, for your transition journey, that you have this clear process and you know the path you are going to follow and what you're going to achieve. It is orienteering. So you will change and you will move as you go forward to achieve the outcomes you're seeking to achieve, but you have a sense of how you're going to get there and what it requires. Just a couple other things I want to throw up. Here is a contents page. It's a mocked up contents page of what your final report should look like. So your independent succession advisor, as they're going through, is assembling, in essence, everything which has allowed you to make the decisions you're going to make. And it's come together in a report which will be given to you. Why? It shouldn't just be a PowerPoint slide, okay? It's going to be quite a detailed report, which is going to gather everything together, because it becomes the basis for your decisions. It allows complete and utter transparency, where everyone is going through and saying, yes, 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 yes. Hang on, don't quite understand that. Now understand, yes, yes, yes. So it allows you to underpin that unity and that clarity and to create a very clear plan going forward, not only for you, for your family, for your stakeholders, but all your advisors. Let's just spend a moment and I'll just go through some of the headings. There's an introduction. There's, in part 1, the setting of your goals. So what are the goals we actually have established and articulated as we've gone forward? Part 2 is about facts. The land of family. Who are family members? What are the values of the family? What is the vision of the family? What are the responsibilities of the family members? What is our family charter? The land of wealth. What's the purpose of wealth in our family? What do we want for the future? Where is that wealth? What does it look like? Where's our wealth map? What do we think it all adds up to? And how do we think it's going to be allocated? The land of legacy. What actually is the legacy we're seeking to create? Are there any key assets which we want to sustain? Often there's a family residence or something which has a significant historical value, I'll put it that way, to the family which they want to retain. What's the governance structure coming out of the family charter which is going to allow us to operate effectively? The land of legacy. The land of business. What's made our business successful? What's the relevance and the importance of that business to our family? Is it the glue which keeps us together? What is the commitment of the family members to that business? What are our businesses? Who are our future business leaders? How are they going to operate? And what do we believe that future looks like? That's part 2. And as you can see, it's gathering facts together, but also it's gathering views and opinions and decisions together as well. Part 3 is then options and decisions. What were our goals? What have we discovered by way of facts? What are the options therefore, and which is the one which suits our goals best, which we are selecting? And then you step from that option evaluation, if I can call it that, into decisions and all the things that follow from that. These are all the decisions we've made. Can everyone tick them off? Because these are the decisions we made. These are all the things which are coming out of that. Amendments to trust deeds, amendments to wills, all sorts of things. Tick, 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 to make sure they're all correct, because this is the brief off to your lawyers and accountants, and this is how it all comes together. So I know that's a bit hard to see probably on some of your screens, but there's a very clear structure for the way in which the final decisions need to be made. So it's transparent, it's clear, there can be no questions around it. You don't want to be sitting there in a few years' time and saying, why did we do that? It doesn't make any sense to me. It needs to be very clear. This allows you to do that. So, they are the lands, that is the journey through it. Actually, it's quite exciting when you're doing this work and working with family members to set the future of the family, because you're talking about what's made this family so strong, what has made these businesses so strong. You're capturing that history and you're inserting that into the family charter. You're creating this not just for your children, but for the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren, so they understand the history. So businesses which have transitioned over many generations, there's such a rich and strong history which provides a glue for the family, which they just continue to build upon. And your succession process has to capture this, enrich this, make it alive. I find it exciting anyway. Again, thank you for your participation. Again, coming up on the subsequent slides will be the email address. Questions, please send them through. I'll answer as best I can. Resources which you can tap to. Yeah, I think you're pretty used to this now. So the third of these, the fourth one's coming up shortly, which is dangers, which is an important area. But I just, again, thank you for your participation. Thank you for being with me on this journey. I hope these videos are helping you go forward. All the best.
Hi everyone, it's Sally here. I work with Richard. You will see coming up on these next 3 slides a URL link to purchase Richard's transition guide, which is a 200-page full-color guide in either spiral-bound printed format or a digital PDF format, or both if you wish. A URL link to the page that contains Richard's blog, a library of over 500 articles on family business succession, business strategy, leadership, growth and competitiveness, which you can access freely. And finally, there is an email address for any questions you may have. These are great resources, and I commend them to you.